Hello, everyone. You are tuned into You're Probably Right podcast. I am your host and the only person on the mic, actually, MCM. And yes, this is You're Probably Right again. And this is for this podcast episode, like my other ones, is for entertainment purposes only. Now, remember, I always tell you that this is not a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by a Christian. Therefore, most of the ideologies and thoughts, besides the ones that are just coming straight out of my natural fleshly mind, are going to be from a Christian narrative or perspective or standpoint or whatever else you could say. But again, I don't say this is a Christian podcast because I guess maybe I'm just trying to safeguard myself from saying something stupid, but which is the last thing I want to do as far as, I don't speak on behalf of all Christians, in other words, and I want to make sure that anything that you hear from me that you think might be of some worth, especially Christian-wise, that you would read your Bible. And I would suggest a King James, old King James version, or a King James version, or English Standard version, ESV, I think it is. That's what I read generally. And also attend a church. Be a part of a body of people who are moving in one direction, reading the Word. And this is just from me, but a church that does not promote pure emotion in everything, or is motivated by money, or when you walk in, you can't tell whether or not you're in a church or a rock concert. Okay, and I'm pretty sure you could probably figure that out. Rock concert or hip hop concert or whatever genre of whatever concert. Okay. Today we're going to talk about the Big Five aspect scale again. And I know I did this back maybe about a year ago. I think I went through mine a little bit, and I probably went through, I think I literally flipped through the pages. Well, I'm actually on the website called understandmyself.com. And this website is owned and run by, probably not run by anymore because he probably has other things to do, but Jordan Peterson and other people. Matter of fact, let's see if I can see about us before let's see, contact the team. So the team of people who developed this website, and I suppose everything that has to do with understandmyself.com, would be Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, Dr. Daniel M. Higgins, and Dr. Robert O. Phil. See that? There's that dyslexia popping right in there. You'll understand when you read the word yourself. But anyways, I'm going to get right into my work because I decided that I wanted to do this. I listened to Dr. Peterson talk about the Big Five, and I was really interested, and I think it was something that I should do. And before I get into it, I just want to say that I think that workplaces, of all places, people now, okay, how do I say this? Now, I was going to say also relationship. People who are looking into a relationship maybe. But for instance, first for the people who are hiring, okay, I think companies, it's kind of a cheat code. So what I would say is, if it was me, I would be using understandmyself.com to pick and choose who I would actually hire. And the Big Five, it goes through different aspects of your personality. And the main aspects, and I know I'm probably not the greatest seller of the website or the Big Five test, just because I don't have I guess maybe a script, which is something that I'd probably need, but I'm just going to do the best I can. But basically, it asks you, I think it was about 100 questions, maybe 120 questions. I can't remember how many questions, but basically, it checks where your level of agreeableness is, your conscientiousness, or so to say, agreeableness, compassion and politeness, conscientiousness, industriousness, and orderliness. Okay, those are the two. But I'm not doing this right. Let me get this straight, because I'm here looking at a website and I realize you're not. So my descriptive abilities need to be a little bit more on point so you understand where I'm coming from. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're sitting in a room somewhere with all the shades drawn in the pitch black, and you really can't see or understand what the heck I'm saying, besides me being able to explain it properly. So, after wasting 5 minutes of your life, which you'll never get back, let me just start again. So, the big five, you have just completed, let's see what it says. You have just completed and assessing yourself with 100 phrases. There you go. So it's not 120, 100 phrases. Our systems have compared yourself ratings to those of thousands of other people. You are being compared to men and women of all ages. This means that if you are young, your scores on neuroticism will be higher, and on agreeableness and conscientiousness will be lower than if you were compared to people of your own age, with the reverse being true for the older individuals. For men, their scores on agreeableness and neuroticism will be lower than if they were being compared to men. We decided to make the comparison simple so that you know where you stand in comparison to the typical person, with age and sex regarded as irrelevant. Here are your results. You will see below where you stand in comparison to others in the general population on the major traits and their aspects. Okay, so basically it goes through those major traits, and here it is. First point, it says agreeableness, and then it says compassion and politeness. So those are the things you're graded on. Then it goes down to conscientiousness, industriousness, and orderliness. Then it goes to extraversion, enthusiasm and assertiveness. Next point, neuroticism, withdrawal and volatility are the 2 points underneath neuroticism, And then openness, intellect and aesthetics. In the original Big Five aspect scale model, the openness factor was entitled openness to experience, and its aspects were intellect and openness. For the sake of clarity, we have deviated from this and used openness or openness to experience to refer to factor level traits, and intellect and aesthetics to refer to its aspects. Hopefully you understand this, because I'm going to tell you, honestly, I'm going to bring you through mine. Now, remember, they have not paid me to do this. And funny enough, I don't know if I could really do this. So let's just say I think if I was sitting in front of 5 people who also did this test, and I felt like I was comfortable, I could probably explain the little aspects of myself, but definitely I can do this way better by doing this in obviously audio format. I mean, I guess I could have a camera in my face, but I could, I just feel more comfortable like this. So basically I'm going to go through mine. So just to, just be open about it and be clear about it. And, I'll understand myself, and I guess you'll understand me as well too. But I'll show you where here and there where I find connections for myself. I'm not sure how far I'll get. Hopefully I can get through this whole thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll be reading various parts. So let's see. You can connect your assessment with this. Yeah, if you can also connect this. So as I was going to talk about earlier, if you wanted to do this to see how compatible, or maybe not necessarily how compatible, because I think there's more of a, okay, now I'm saying you're looking for a mate, or you found a mate, or you're married, and hopefully in a Christian marriage, and both of you are believers. A lot of these things in the natural fleshly sense will line up. Now, I also understand that as a Christian, many of these things will not always make any sense, because I believe that, you are transformed by the renewing of your mind. And how does your mind get renewed? By the scriptures, by the word of God. So there's going to be many times when things won't really make sense, and for sure on mine, but then there will be some things, because I am still a human being living in a natural body. I do have the genetics of my parents, and also I've been brought up under certain conditions like everyone. So there are certain things that will align, but then there's going to be some things that are going to be off. But I was just going to go through this and just tell you whether or not I believe it to be true for me. And I think it's something that people should do. I'm not sure if you should do it in, say, a relationship. I think you should let the Lord be your guide in the scriptures. But I just think where you're having struggles, I don't believe in going through an ungodly or a person who's not a Christian for counseling. And I think, where the scripture says, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, or I can't remember, something in the seat of the scornful. But the bottom line is, it's basically telling you, don't take yourself and subject yourself to someone peering into who you are and guiding you, who is a sinner, who is someone who scorns, or who's someone who is against the word of God and against believers, because they're not going to lead you in the right way. And, I can remember when I took a philosophy course, for instance, and I came in there a young, I was about 19, I think. And they're going through Descartes, they're going through Freud and all the others. And, I think therefore I am. And they're saying, if you saw a tablecloth on a table, how do you know that the tablecloth is really there? And how do you know you're not in the middle of a dream? How do you know your dreams aren't reality and your reality is really a dream? And a whole bunch of existential blatherings of headiness that, if anything, confuse people. And if you fast forward now to many years, now, I think colleges are really twisting people up with all that stuff. But basically, I just seen where colleges and university have gone way overboard on one side, whereas they don't take anything you have to say as a Christian as any type of, you can't prove it. Well, no, I can't prove a lot of things, but many times when I wanted to prove things on, biblical basis, they wanted you to, combat things. And this is, again, when I was 19, and I wanted me to combat them with everything else but anything that had to do with what I believed as a believer of God, which was very hard for me, basically impossible, because that's who I was and that's who I am. But at the time I was like, I don't know how to do this, what you're asking me to do. I'm a Christian. Now I believe I could probably do a lot better, but I also know that I wouldn't feel, hold on, sorry, I need to plug in here. But I also know now I wouldn't feel subjected or have to subject myself into these people's beliefs. I mean, I would make someone prove to me that there is no God before I would sit there doing my hardest to prove that there is a God. Because I think you'd be far harder pressed to prove to me that there is no God. From all that you see, just from the fact that those of you can see, I understand people can't see, but the people who can see and see all of the wonders of this great planet, and you want to tell me that nobody created all of this stuff, and you just want to say it just came out of a bang somewhere. I believe nothing comes out of nothing. And I also believe, to be a believer, I believe that God has to give you the faith to believe. And again, that's just where I am at with it, and I believe that that is true. So for those who don't want to stick around for the whole thing, or maybe you do, because I'm going to go through things that I'm going to read and what things mean, but I will straight up tell you. Just maybe it'll it'll excite you a little bit to stick around with me. But agreeableness, first one. And I guess they did this. No, they didn't do it. I was going to say they did it in alphabetical order, but no. But agreeableness, I have 68. Extraversion, 34. Remember, this is out of 100. So in other words, if there were 100 people in the room in agreeableness, I am 68% more agreeable, or 68 times more. I'm more agreeable, than if there was, again, 100% people in the room. I'd be more agreeable than 68 people in the room. And then, do the subtraction, and you'd know that I was 32% less agreeable than other people. And then extraversion, 34. Conscientious, 66. Openness, 49, which I would say those two are closer to being average, but not quite average. And neuroticism, which is kind of shocking, and I wouldn't say too positive from the way I look at things, 78. Yeah. So I'm going to go through this, and maybe some of that makes sense from the way that I'm actually trying to present this stuff. But I'm talking about me, so anyhow, here we go. So it goes down to, you can convert this. I'm on the website. You can convert it to a PDF file, and you can really, really go through the whole thing, and go through it with a fine-tooth comb, maybe with someone, maybe a psychologist if you wanted to, or just a friend, or again, maybe you wanted to match it up with your wife or your husband. You can do that, and you can do that on the website, where it will compare. It'll say this person's this way and this person's that way, and then it'll probably tell you where the two of you connect, or maybe might have issues. Now, the good thing about it telling you where the two of you might have issues, or the places where you guys really, really connect, is that maybe you can give each other some sort of a break. In other words, understanding that you are two different people, and that no person is perfect, then maybe it'll allow you to work with each other on the places that might be a hindrance or a bother to you, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm going to go through on agreeableness. So it says, agreeableness, you are moderately high. It says, you are moderately high in agreeableness, which is the primary dimension of interpersonal interactions in the Big Five personality traits scientific model. The two aspects of agreeableness are compassion and politeness. Your score puts you at the 68th percentile for agreeableness. If you were one of 100 people in a room, you would be higher in agreeableness than 68 of them, and lower in agreeableness than 31. I don't think that's what I said. It doesn't feel like that's what I said or how I said it. All right. So, hold on. Let me grab my glasses. Can you grab me those glasses? I should just make the screen bigger. Let's see. Can I suck it out? I can't. Oh, whoa. Thanks, sir. All right. Let me just get my glasses, people. We're already in 18 minutes, and I haven't told you anything. But anyways, let me just put on these joints. I don't know if that really feels that much better. But anyway, agreeableness. And hopefully I'll be able to kind of draw some, parallels to my life and what the test said. Now, just to give you some background on it, I did take this test about, say, 4 years ago. About 3 years ago. And I had previously, I think, heard a lecture on it, and I think I might have answered 10 questions. So I was trying to do my best just to be me in answering these questions. So hopefully this is accurate. Maybe that accounts for some of the stuff I would find a little bit off. But then again, maybe not. So I believe I answered honestly for what I understood the question to be, in, I guess, the space that I was in at the time. But anyway, here we go. Agreeableness is a very complex trait. with marked positive and negative elements all along its distribution. Because of its higher scores and lower scores need to be explained at the same time. People high in agreeableness, and of course me at 68, I'm moderately high. I guess high would be probably 75 and over maybe, but I'm not sure. We'll find out as we look at some of the other ones. People high in agreeableness are nice, compliant, nurturing, kind, naively trusting, and conciliatory. However, because of their tendency to avoid conflict, they often dissemble and hide when they think. Hide what they think. Man. And let's see. So I just want to go, let's see. People high in agreeableness. So I'm moderately high. So let's see how many things. Let's see. I would say I'm pretty nice, generally. If I think about the interactions I have with people, generally nice. Of course, I can have my days where I'm not nice or I'm upset. So, if I'm in my feelings, I guess I'm probably not going to be that nice. But I guess generally I can shake off whatever it is. I can talk to one person rough and then be right over here talking nice to the next person because that other person maybe, as again, for lack of a better term, got me in my feelings. Compliant, yes. I'll try to follow the rules in most, unless, of course, I think that there's some outlandish reason or whatever reason I think I need to speed down the road, or I need to go against my boss or someone who is heading up something. I would generally comply. That's me. It's not my nature to want to do things my way. That's just not me. Nurturing, I think so, in my own way. I think I can be hard. I think what happens with me, and it's probably the neuroticism, is sometimes I get frustrated. And when you get frustrated or you have that negative emotion like I do with neuroticism, I think that your nurturing doesn't always nurture the way you should. And that's probably maybe why I'm only a 68. Kind, generally, I would give you the shirt off my back. If you really wanted or needed my shirt off my back, I would give it to you. No problem. I've given high-priced items that I own, things that I purchased with my own money, or things that I have need of, or maybe not necessarily have need of, but could definitely utilize myself, have given them away. Naively trusting, probably. Yeah, I would say so. Let's see. I think I opened a website that my workplace said I shouldn't have opened. They were testing individuals, and apparently I popped open. But maybe that was because I didn't think I had much to lose by popping it open. But whatever. Who knows? And conciliatory. However, because of their tendency to avoid conflict, they often dissemble and hide what they think, and that's probably true for me, except I've tried to go counter with that one. In other words, I've tried to do the George Costanza, say the opposite. So where I would generally just kind of I keep it to myself what I really, really think. And I think I probably do that to a level. But I think the more that I know my audience and I'm comfortable talking to whoever it is I'm talking to, is the more honest that I'll be. Like, I wouldn't just flat out come out with everything I think right off the bat to someone I didn't trust or think that would understand or take it maybe in the right way. So it generally, I would hide what I think, People low in agreeableness are not so nice. They're more stubborn, they're dominant, harsh, skeptical, and there you go. I am a lot of times skeptical. Competitive, I'm not competitive. And in extreme, even predatory. See, that I'm certainly not, that's not me. However, they tend to be straightforward, even blunt, so you know where they stand. And again, that's probably where I don't give that. You don't necessarily know where I stand on every situation, and I'm not always blunt. Again, it depends on how much I value the relationship. In other words, if I say something wrong, will it ruin things? If I feel that there's a chance, then chances are I probably won't say that because I'm trying to be agreeable. I'm trying to get along for getting along's sake, for peace sake. You understand? So I'm more one of those people where there's some people, it's like, I don't care. You take me as I am, and I'm going to give you whatever I think. I think sometimes I front a little bit like that, but that's not really me. But here it does say people who are moderately high, this is supposed to mean, let's see. High levels of agreeableness are somewhat forgiving, accepting, flexible, and hopefully not spineless. No, it says flexible, gentle, and patient. And I would say that's me. They tend to feel pity for those who are excluded. I'm always rooting for the underdog. Punished or defeated. So it's kind of funny, and just a little thought. And I'm just trying to, as I said, I try to go into the recesses of my mind for these little things to try to really suss out whether or how true it is. But I think of the team, remember the Golden State Warriors with Steph, Clay, and Draymond Green? When they were riding high and, LeBron James was going through those years of really, really trying to fight, and they were really, it was almost an insurmountable task to defeat these guys in the playoffs. I didn't like them very much. Their just shooting was just unreal. It was like something that we'd never seen before. It certainly was something that we'd never seen before. And I wasn't a fan because they were the favorite. They were favored. Every time they stepped on the court, they were favored to win. And then the year 2024 came around, not maybe 2023, and they started losing games. They weren't so dominant anymore. Clay wasn't shooting as well anymore. Down to 2024, where there was all kinds of arguments. Draymond Green had got suspended a couple times. The year before, he had punched Jordan Poole or pushed him down or whatever. They traded him. It ruined the team. And then they, in the 2024 season, ended up in the play-in tournament where they were in 10th in the Western Conference, and they got booted. But I can honestly say before they got booted, I was actually rooting for them. Not more than I was rooting for LA, because that was my team at the time. But enough that I wanted them to do better because everybody had counted Clay out. Draymond was volatile, and you kind of wanted Steph Curry to succeed. You know what I mean? So that made me think about this and saying, I tend to root for the people who were downtrodden, beaten down. If it was a kid, let's say at a school or whatever I was working at or something like that, I would be definitely on the side of the underdog. So yes, I tend to feel pity for those who are excluded, punished, or defeated. They generally feel that people should work cooperatively and are somewhat skeptical of competition. So with its losers and winners. However, moderately agreeable people have to be careful not to be taken advantage of, particularly by disagreeable people, because they will tell you what they think and they will be on you for, lack of a better term, including those with criminal or predatory intent. They may also find it somewhat difficult to engage in arguments and may even avoid discussions with less agreeable people. And I could say, I won't say that I avoid arguments, because I'll take them on if we're trying to match wits. Like that's maybe where the nerdy part of me, where I think I know it, or maybe my little know-it-all part. Well, I'll try to take you on, because I that's just something I would do to, like, say my friends back in the day. I had friends who were Hindu, Muslim, probably agnostic or barely a believer, and then me, and we would go through different parts of our faiths and try to compare and try to intellectually argue points to this and that, and I'll be ready, willing to go. or just on random things in life, even now as an adult. And that was back when I'm talking maybe back when I was about 23 or so. But now I will get into deep discussion, and I'll call them arguments, but really they're just debating certain things. They're very various things in, for work or just in various aspects of life. So I would say I'm probably moderately high in agreeableness, as it says. I'm not going to get into the other one, but understanding myself, not understanding myself, because that'll bring you to a whole different website. I found that out the hard way, but understandmyself.com. It says that women are higher in agreeableness than men. The mean percentile for a woman in the general population is 61.5, and I'm higher than that. For men, it is 38.5. So, yeah. Who knows what that means, right? Compassion. So this is where it gets into the compassion. 48 only. Your score puts you at 48 percentile for compassion. If you were in a room of 100 people, you would be higher than 48 of them, but you would be lower than 51. So 51 people would be more compassionate than me. So let's see. People who are typically compassionate people are reasonably interested in the problems of others and other living things. They are somewhat concerned about helping other people avoid negative emotion, but are willing. They are somewhat concerned about helping other people avoid negative emotion, but are willing to stand their ground, even when others get upset. They make time and do kind things for others, but balance that with fulfilling their own needs and interests. Well, that's not me. They have a soft side, but are not pushovers. Other people consider them reasonably sympathetic and nice, and they will sometimes turn to them for a listening ear. They can be empathetic and caring, however, they are not primarily other-oriented, so they can negotiate effectively on their own behalf. This helps ensuring that they get what they deserve. Interesting. So I'm not really high, which I guess is not that great, but I'm right in the middle. 51, 54, 48. I'm okay. I guess. Politeness, 81. So apparently I'm politeness. Excuse me. Highly polite people tend to be deferential to authority, and so I'll defer to someone who's in authority. I'll say, "Oh, you think so? Okay, so you got the authority. Okay." So generally obedient. They are respectful and hate to appear or to be pushy. They are uncomfortable challenging other people. Highly polite people will try diligently to avoid conflict and have a more intense desire than average to steer clear of confrontation. So yes, I try not to have problems, and that's like me in a relationship. Sometimes I think, my downfall in some of my relationships, sometimes that would be the case where maybe I wouldn't necessarily tell the 100% unadulterated truth, just trying to stay out of problems. Not that I was scared to get beat up, but I might get scared in the fact of maybe trying to lose my relationship over something stupid, especially if I think I'm with someone who is going to put me on the ropes every time I make a mistake. I might tend to not necessarily give up all the goods 100% honestly, which is sad. Because it's like I guess when I look back, it's like I felt I never had a strong bank account, I guess, or cachet with my partner. So I always felt that anything could break everything. Does that make any sense? So I definitely would try to, in that situation, I guess depends on who has the hand. You ever heard of that term, hand? If I have a lot less hand in the relationship, then I'm less likely to be as honest and forthcoming as I can, because I'm trying to save the relationship, which is sad. And you should never be in a place like that, because you're always going to end up on the bottom, and you're always going to end up ousted at some point, because you're not perfect, and at some point you're going to make a mistake. All right. Conscientiousness. I am moderately high, 66. What was the other one? 68 on agreeableness. Yeah, okay. So conscientiousness. And I'll just go right to, I don't want to get through the whole thing, but yeah, okay. So I'm 66. It says, moderately conscientious people are dutiful. They tend to slog away at tasks until finished, which is torturous for me sometimes, because sometimes I really don't feel like slogging away. And that's why sometimes with me personally, I won't even start some tasks until I know that I'm at the ability to finish it. Like right now, we're in this podcast and we're at 35 minutes, and I'd like to go through the whole big five. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. I don't know if I have the energy, but here we are anyway. So I'm continuing. They tend to slog away at tasks until finished. They work reasonably hard and do not want to waste time. There you go. See, just talking about time. They are less likely than average to procrastinate. There you go. That's why I guess, 66. Say I do procrastinate sometimes because I'm not willing to give up that time, or don't know if I have the time. So I guess those two things with me kind of butt heads, I guess, particularly if they are also low on neuroticism. And again, I'm not low on neuroticism. If a moderately conscientious person promises to do something, they will do it and rarely be delayed. And that again is someone that I am. Whereas if I say I'm going to do something, you can put it in. If I say I'm going to do something, then I do it. One thing my kids can all attest when it comes to me is I generally don't promise things because I don't want to disappoint. So I generally will do in most cases. But promises, no, because I'm always concerned about not being able to come through. Maybe you should promise things, but I don't know. I guess I haven't really figured that part out. But I can tell you honestly, just the person that I am, I don't promise my kids. I never used to promise my kids, small as they were, anything. I would say, yes, we're going to go here, and that's the plan. But if something else happened, but I wouldn't say, I promise we're going here, because I always know that there is the problem that something might happen, and I always let them know that something could happen and it could change plans. They tend to be relatively decisive, neat, organized. I'm generally that way. Generally have my stuff. I know exactly where things are. I'm generally neat, even my clothes and where I put my things. I'll buy boxes to put things and to compartmentalize my stuff, to have this there and this there and that there, just to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be and everything has its place. Of course, sometimes, depending on how life is at the time, sometimes that I don't always get through, but I can honestly say that those things are genuinely bothering me when that is happening. If it's not happening. Future oriented. That's a big thing that caused a lot of problems in my relationship, where something was happening in the present and I believed it was ruining a lot of stuff. And I was so concerned about, is this the way my life's going to be for the rest of my life? And because I was so future oriented, it caused me to ruin the now, the present, because I was trying to base what was happening in the present on the future, assuming that if the present was this way, that the future was also going to be this way. And therefore, for me, that was unacceptable. Now, of course, I'm not going to get into the exact situations, but I'm sure if you are anything like me, you could probably extrapolate how that would ruin your life, in essence. I am reliable, so I can see the positive side about it. Whereas, like, again, say for my Christian faith, my belief in God, my belief that Christ is my Savior, when I'm doing something and I'm thinking of doing something wrong, or I didn't do something the way I think it should be done, I'm also concerned. I concern myself. It says you should work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, am I really a Christian? I have to think about eternity when making some decisions in the now. Whereas most people don't. A lot of people just live for the here and now, and we only live once and all that YOLO stuff. And I'm definitely not one of those people. They are not too frequently distracted. And yeah, I usually know what I want to do, and I generally know how to get there, or I try to figure out how to get there. But yeah, I don't tend not to get distracted, unless of course maybe some kind of ADHD, kind of everything all over the place at the same time. So it also says moderately conscientious people are more likely than average to obtain higher grades in academic settings, particularly if they are also intelligent. Now, that might be a debatable thing, but I can honestly say when I had the right tools in school, finally, that was in college, my grades were higher than the average person, because I had the right tools to use to help me to make my grades higher than the average person. But before, say, computers, or if they can help, the learning disabilities that I live with, they weren't. But yeah, now, and I mean, I got to the point where people who I would help or sit beside in college, I had a guy who called me a nerd, and I was like nothing like a nerd, but it was because he knew that I was being very conscientious in how I was going about my homework, studying, and the tests. I would always be, say, one of the first 4 people to finish a test and walk out of the room and out of there and going home, because I was very conscientious with it. So yeah, that's pretty much me. Let's see. Particularly if they are intelligent and to make competent administrators and managers. That'd be good. They like to have everything in its proper place. Definitely that's me. But are not particularly obsessed with detail. Yeah, I can screw up on detail, but what I used to find out and what I was told by my grade 12 English teacher is that I am imperfect perfectionist, whereas I would try to do something until I pretty much ruin it. Where I wasn't happy with 89%. I needed it at least 95%, and I would usually overdo it and ruin something. But that's just me. They say they tend to do things by the book. Yep. Moderately, and that's if I understand the book. If I don't understand the book, let's just say I'm putting together some IKEA furniture, I'll probably just have the box there looking at me while I can look at the finished product, and I can go by that and pretty much create whatever it is I'm supposed to create. But of course it screws up sometimes, but that's just because sometimes the instructions just make things more complicated in my little brain. Moderately conscientious people are somewhat prone to guilt, although they organize their lives so that they have comparatively little to feel guilty about. Again, therefore, that's why I said I don't make promises, and I try not to be guilty of things. So I try to do what you're supposed to do so that I don't have to worry about guilt slapping me in the face later. They are also more sensitive than the average to shame, self-disgust, and self-contempt. And I cannot go into those things, but I can honestly tell you right. What else does it say? I'll say more because it says more. Individuals who are moderately conscientious react comparatively poorly to failure. Yeah, I don't do too good about failure. Now, failure and not winning are two different things for me. If I don't win something, but I know that I gave my all, then I don't consider that necessarily a failure because I tried. Particularly if they are above average in neuroticism, which is me, they tend to be judgmental and can be disgusted by their own moral transgressions, and that's me. Yes, so I do get disgusted with my own moral and godly transgressions. I'm not too happy when I sin. It doesn't feel good inside, and which kind of brings me back, as well as to those of others. So I remember a couple sticky situations that I was in years ago, maybe 10 years ago or 12 years ago, and I'd gone through something, and I've done stuff that I shouldn't have done. I was certainly disgusted with myself and the situation, and how it affected other people, and I wanted nothing to do with the situation. Now let's just tell you that I 100% paid the price for what I did 10 times over, But it's kind of funny because, there was individuals in my life who thought, yeah, this is you. This is what you're going to do, and you're going to continue to do it. Matter of fact, situation was finished and long and gone, and I was still being accused of living that way. And I wasn't, and I had no intention. And matter of fact, after I'd gone and done what I knew I shouldn't have done, and I was disgusted with my behavior and what had happened, I had no intentions of doing that again. But of course, sadly, people put you where they put you, where they see you. So, that's why I would always say to someone, it is always important to do what you say you are, because it's more important to understand that you are what you do. You are not what you say you are, unless that's what you're doing. And hopefully that's not too complicated. But the bottom line is, let's just say you're a Christian. You can say you're a Christian till you're blue in the face. You can quote every scripture in the Bible if you want. You can give to the poor. You can give the shirt off your back. I guess that would be something that you're doing in a sense. But, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, what are you thinking? What are you're planning? What are your words like? What are the things that you're actually regularly doing? That says who you are. It's not what you claim. So you are not what you claim unless you are doing what you claim. Let's see. Moderately conscientious people are committed to the idea of personal responsibility. They believe that hard work and diligence will and should be rewarded, and tend to think that those who don't succeed deserve their failure. Not me, not so much. They value hygiene, moral purity, and achievement. Now and then they might micromanage and exert too much control. And I could say that. With some things I would just try to be on this, beyond that. And what it does is when you exert, and I can tell you from my own experience, when you exert too much control over situations or what are things people are doing, like let's just say your kids, what ends up happening is it hampers your kids from being able to do things on their own. And then what ends up happening later on, you get frustrated because you realize that, say, your kids are not doing what you think they should be doing at the time that they're trying to do it but are unsuccessful, only because you've been hampering them by doing it for them. So, not a good thing. Industrious. Well, I'm right in the smack dab in the middle. I'm 50. I'm right at 50. You are typical, or average in industriousness. Industriousness is an aspect of conscientiousness. That's probably not a good thing. People of average industriousness are somewhat likely to be successful in school and in administrative and managerial positions. I had one of those just last year and the year before, particularly if they are intelligent. Now, I can tell you that I was good at my job, but the part that I was not good at, for whatever reason, I could not get the inner workings of the program Excel to enter my brain for me to be able to regularly use it properly. So I had to figure out workarounds to do other things, which I can honestly tell you the head of my organization that I was working with didn't like too much, because for some reason she was addicted to the fact that we needed to be using Excel. Of course, I said I could learn it, and I never really learned it, even though I tried to take some course on it online and it just didn't stick. And maybe it's because I was doing so many other things that every once in a while I had to be thrown back to, can I do something like an Excel, this, that, or the other, and do a tutorial, and then it would just fall out of my brain again. I'm the kind of person, I think I'd have to be on Excel 7 days a week for 5 months to really understand what I needed to do on that thing. They do not live to work. That's true. However, and do not always have to be doing something useful. No, I don't. They like their leisure time. So yes, I like to work smarter and not harder. Typically, they will do their duties, but they can put things off. Happens. And sometimes I'll put in extra hours to get things done quicker so that I can loaf, which is weird, I guess, and sometimes mess up. Usually, but not always, they finish what they start, and they do it more or less on schedule with some exceptions. They are no more concerned than average with efficiency and savings. They can focus on the task on hand when there are high levels of emotions or motivations or pressures, but often find themselves distracted by something more entertaining or interesting or worrisome. So I could be focused on trying to do something, but yes, if there's something that's distracting because it's entertaining, maybe I'm supposed to go on something and I'll check out Twitter to see what's trending just for the sake of it, and maybe I'll get lost on those 20-second videos of nonsense and not go on to exactly what I'm supposed to be doing at the exact time. And that's the reason why I made sure I got off of Twitter, because for people like me, Twitter is like poison. It'll waste your time, a big time waste. You'll wake up using Twitter for no apparent reason, but you'll be interested in what you're looking at because of the way that they've set up the algorithm. People of average industriousness are not particularly judgmental to themselves or others. They like to live and let live. They are somewhat likely to believe that people fail because they don't apply themselves or work hard enough, but know that others' considerations play a role. Yes, I do. They tend to feel guilty, but not to an overwhelming degree if they do not do their duty. They can, however, find themselves in guilty positions because they failed to perform a task on time or properly. I like to have my stuff done on time. I don't like to know that I held back something or something got ruined because I didn't do my part. So I like to be a part of a team. I used to play a lot of sports, and I didn't want to be the guy that was missing the shot after 4 passes were passed and then I got the shot at the end of it. I like to know that I could handle business. Those who are liberal and those who are conservative appear equal in industriousness. Men are slightly more industrious than women. The mean percentile of men in general population is 51 and women 49. So there you go. I'm right in the beginning of that. In the middle of that at 50. So good. Nice place to be. And I will say, because we are at 50 minutes, I don't think I'm going to go on to orderliness. I will put a pin in it right there. Orderliness, I am at 76. And I think that'll be it for today. So hopefully, again, depending on the response, the viewership is going to dictate whether or not I go on further. But again, if you want to do this for yourself, you go to understandmyself.com. And I think I paid $10, which is absolutely nothing to pay to do a test such as this. But it tells you a lot about yourself. And again, it's not going to probably get everything 100%, but I can say honestly, a lot of it was pretty darn close for me. Again, if you are a Christian, you'll notice some discrepancies in some of the findings, because what you were before you were a believer is not what you are now. Old things are passed away, and behold, all things have become new, because you are a brand new creation. That's what the Bible says. So a lot of the fleshly things, you'll notice, earthly things will not necessarily be who you are anymore a lot of the time, but there will be some certain aspects, because you are still a human being living in the flesh, that will still ring true. And you'll realize also, the older you are, that there's certain things that you've worked on. And again, he did the test, say 5-10 years ago, you'll notice that probably there's certain things that were you and certain things that you do understand, but are possibly not you anymore. Anyhow, y'all, this is where we will end it today. For you're probably right, I am MCM. Thank you for checking this out, and see you again next time, or listen to you again, or listen to me next time. Again, hopefully there'll be enough listeners so that I will be able to go on to orderliness next time. All right, so take care. Peace out. come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 docs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.